Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story is something truly unbelievable, something that sounds like a movie but is actually unfolding in real life. A teenager, a young genius from Ukraine, has done something that no one saw coming. He has created a simple but brilliant idea that has completely changed the way Ukrainian forces fight against Russian drones. This story isn't about a general, a commander, or a government program. It's about one boy, a regular teenager with a laptop, a dream, and the determination to protect his country. It all started in a small town in Ukraine, far from the front line. The teen, just 16 years old, was fascinated by technology since he was a child. While most kids were playing games, he was taking apart remote control cars and building drones from spare parts. When the war began, his quiet life changed forever. His school turned into a shelter. His friends and family faced constant air raid alarms. He realized that drones had become one of the deadliest weapons in this conflict. They were small, fast, and precise. They could spot soldiers, drop explosives, and guide artillery, and Ukraine needed a way to stop them, fast. That's when his idea began. One night, during a blackout, while the city was in complete darkness, he sat near a candle with his laptop running on backup power. He had a simple question in mind: what if he could confuse the drones instead of destroying them? What if he could make them lose their way without firing a single bullet? He knew Russian drones relied on GPS and radio signals for navigation. If those signals could be distorted, the drones could crash or return to base. It sounded impossible for one person, but he started working anyway. He studied open-source data, watched videos of drone crashes, read about electronic warfare systems, and began experimenting with cheap electronic parts. He used old radio transmitters, parts from a broken Wi-Fi router, and a microcontroller. Piece by piece, he built a small device that could emit a special signal to scramble drone communication. It was something that looked more like a toy than a weapon, but when he tested it with a small quadcopter, it worked. The drone suddenly froze in midair and crashed a few seconds later. He couldn't believe his eyes. He had just created a low-cost anti-drone system. He called it Hawkeye. The name came from his belief that the best way to fight an enemy's eye in the sky was to have a sharper one. He recorded his experiments and posted a short clip online. Within hours, it spread across social media. Ukrainian soldiers, tech engineers, and volunteers started reaching out to him. They couldn't believe a teenager had done what big defense companies were struggling to do. His invention wasn't perfect, but it was powerful enough to give Ukrainian troops a fighting chance against low-flying enemy drones. Soon, he was invited to Kiev to meet military engineers. They were cautious at first. How could a 16-year-old know something they didn't? But when he demonstrated his prototype, they were stunned. The small device, powered by a battery pack, could block drone signals in a radius of several hundred meters. The cost, less than $100. The engineers realized that if this could be mass-produced, it could save thousands of lives. The teen was given access to better equipment and a small lab. With the help of the military tech unit, he began upgrading his design. They added frequency modulation, improved signal range, and even built a version that could be attached to a backpack. Soldiers on the front lines started carrying them. Within weeks, reports came in that Russian drones were losing control mid-flight. Some crashed into fields, others returned to base confused. It was working, and it was all thanks to a young genius who refused to give up. The news spread quickly. Russian channels began complaining about mysterious interference zones where their drones were dropping unexpectedly. Analysts started speculating that Ukraine had developed a new electronic warfare system, but no one could imagine that the mastermind behind it was a teenager working from a small room with old parts and a burning desire to protect his people. The teen's parents were shocked but proud. They said he always had a curious mind, always asking questions and taking risks. His mother said she used to scold him for staying up late soldering circuits, and now she realized he was building something that could save soldiers' lives. His father, a mechanic, helped him refine the design using metal scraps and wires from old engines. Together, they turned their home workshop into a mini lab of innovation. What makes this story even more incredible is that the teen didn't stop there. Once his Hawkeye device was deployed on the battlefield, he started working on a software version. He believed that if he could write an algorithm to predict drone flight paths, Ukrainian forces could anticipate attacks before they happen. Using artificial intelligence, he trained a simple program to analyze drone movement patterns from live camera feeds. The software could detect unusual motion and alert soldiers seconds before a drone strike. In war, those seconds mean everything. His software was integrated into existing defense systems, creating a hybrid protection network that combined his signal jammer with predictive AI alerts. It was a game changer. Ukrainian soldiers could now detect, disrupt, and disable Russian drones faster than ever. Reports from the front confirmed that drone losses were rising dramatically. Russian operators began to notice that their equipment wasn't reliable anymore. Something unseen was working against them, and they had no idea what. The teen's story became a symbol of hope and innovation. People started calling him the Drone Whisperer. He refused to reveal his full name for safety reasons, but his face and story became viral online. Across Ukraine, young people started experimenting too. Schools and universities created innovation clubs focused on building low-cost defense technologies. He had started a movement, a wave of young minds using creativity to defend their homeland. His invention caught international attention. Tech companies from Europe and America offered him scholarships and mentorship. Defense experts wanted to study his device, but he remained humble, saying his only goal was to end the suffering caused by war. In one interview, he said, "I didn't build this to destroy, I built it to protect." His words resonated deeply with millions. Russian media tried to dismiss the story as propaganda, but the evidence was too clear. Drone footage showed increasing crashes and disoriented flights over Ukrainian territories. Some drones even circled back and crashed into their own launch areas. Analysts confirmed that interference was happening, but the source remained mysterious. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian teen continued working quietly, improving his designs and helping others learn how to build similar devices. He started collaborating with volunteer tech teams to distribute open-source blueprints of simplified versions of Hawkeye. Anyone with basic electronics knowledge could build one. It became a symbol of unity and resistance. Farmers, students, and mechanics were now building anti-drone shields in garages and basements. It was technology for the people, by the people. The teen's invention changed not only the battlefield but also how people viewed innovation. It showed that you don't need huge budgets or corporations to create impact. Sometimes all it takes is curiosity, courage, and compassion. He proved that one mind, no matter how young, can make a difference in a global conflict. As months passed, the results became undeniable. Drone attacks in certain regions dropped significantly. Ukrainian forces gained precious time to regroup, protect supplies, and advance strategically. His simple invention had saved lives, possibly thousands. International defense experts called it one of the most effective low-cost warfare tools ever created in modern times. The teen received recognition from Ukrainian officials, though he kept a low profile. He didn't care about fame or money. He continued studying, dreaming of one day building technologies for peace instead of war. But deep inside, he knew his creation had already changed history. What truly shocked the world was how simple his approach was. Instead of fighting drones with expensive weapons, he fought them with intelligence and creativity. He understood that wars aren't just fought with guns, they're fought with ideas, and his idea, born out of necessity and love for his country, became one of the most powerful tools in modern warfare. People across the world were inspired by his story. Tech communities began discussing how civilian inventions could change the balance of power in conflicts. His story reminded everyone that innovation doesn't always come from laboratories. It can come from a teenager's bedroom. It was a wake-up call for the world, showing that creativity can be a stronger weapon than destruction. As his project expanded, he started mentoring other young inventors through online channels. He encouraged them to think differently, to use technology not for fame but for purpose. His videos and tutorials gained millions of views. He became a silent leader of a new generation of thinkers, young people using intelligence as their defense. In time, the Hawkeye project grew beyond Ukraine. Other countries facing drone threats began adapting the concept for their own defenses. The teen's invention had gone global, not as a weapon of destruction, but as a shield of protection. His name became a symbol of youthful innovation and courage in the face of impossible odds. Every great story has a turning point, and his came when one of his devices saved an entire convoy from a surprise drone strike. The soldiers later sent him a message of gratitude, saying his invention gave them the chance to return home alive. It was the moment he realized the true value of his work, not fame, not recognition, but the lives saved. He kept improving Hawkeye, adding features that allowed it to adapt automatically to new drone frequencies. It became smarter, faster, and more reliable. His journey inspired scientists, engineers, and even policymakers. Ukraine recognized his contribution as a key factor in strengthening its defense capabilities. He was awarded quietly, without public ceremony, for security reasons, but his impact was no longer a secret. The story of the teen genius who destroyed Russian drones became a legend, a tale of intelligence defeating aggression. It wasn't about revenge or pride. It was about innovation born from necessity, courage rising from fear, and a young mind refusing to stay silent while his country suffered. And that's what makes this story so powerful. In a world full of chaos, one young genius showed that brilliance can come from anywhere. He didn't wait for someone else to act. He became the change, and because of that, he didn't just destroy drones, he destroyed doubt. He proved that even in the darkest times, one spark of creativity can light the way. So next time you think you're too young, too small, or too powerless to make a difference, remember this teen. He didn't have an army or a lab. He had courage, a dream, and the will to act, and that was enough to change everything. No one saw it coming, but the world will never forget it, because in the end wars may be fought with weapons, but they are won with minds. And this young genius proved that one brilliant mind can be mightier than any drone in the sky.